I'll run it down there and put it behind the plants. Have him what? He's gonna do the drop-in one. Okay, perfect. And I never sent that email to you, I just realized. I was at Des Moines and then I had to go to Texas, so now I'm back.
It's okay. I understand how distractions happen. Hi.
So that's a small commission.
I know. Where's our peeps?
The important ones are there.
I was. Two seconds. We're getting there. Got distracted by plants. It's my love. All right. We set. I will call the August 16th, 2021 EDA Authority regular meeting to order. So first up, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Item number 3, approving the minutes from June 2021.
Julie, we need to vote on the agenda.
Excuse me?
We need to vote on the agenda.
Oh, I'm so sorry. So adopting the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It's been rusty. We didn't have one last month. All right. Item number 3, approve the June 2021 minutes. Do I have a motion to approve or any comments or questions before we get to that? Hearing none, I'll take a motion for an approval.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
And all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 4, Cambria Hills report and discussion.
So staff,
Thank you.
so staff just wanted to give an update on the Cambria Hills. So the court order affirming the Certis appointment and recognition as general receiver was approved, and it was filed with Anoka County on July 28th of 2021. The process for approval of this receivership was a bit longer than normal, since it was voluntary versus court action. They have the checking accounts established and will begin transitioning utility accounts in the next week. Will Haas, he is our point of contact for past due balances with the city, and Rob Fugly, who staff has met with, is the Certis contact for all general matters regarding the Cambria Hills. Certis is currently working with local Minnesota contacts interested in performing the same or similar work as Cambria Hills. They are showing the building to interested parties and have non-disclosure agreements with those prospects. None of the parties are bound to any agreement at this time beyond non-disclosure. All groups currently in their conversations are reported to fit into the spirit of the Cambria Hills conditional use permit. On staff, they do have staff on site for some portion of the day, 5 to 7 days a week. So there are vehicles that will be seen on site corresponding to the times that maintenance staff is present. That's it, just a little bit of an update on it.
So, as the whole background related to the state of Minnesota and the, just the way that the billing was approved, has Certis had any, are we past that point, or what's going on with any of the new interested parties?
That, I'm not really sure. Are you talking about the utility billing?
No, I'm talking about the pro rata for the billing and how this whole thing came about.
Yes, that I'm not sure. Jack, do you know?
We had hoped to get some answers on that last Thursday at a Chamber of Commerce meeting.
Okay.
Senator Benson was supposed to have been one of the speakers there. As you know, she's the chair of that committee that oversees HHS. She wasn't able to make it, so we'll have to reach out to her to ask those questions. But, I think probably some of the questions asked, were what was the cooperation level with HHS with Cambia Hills during this whole process? What's the plan going forward for HHS or the state to work with Certus and these people to try to get another provider in there that's doing the same or similar service? So we'd hope to get some answers to that on Thursday, but unfortunately, Senator Benson couldn't be at the meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, it was just, I think, unfortunate the way the whole thing happened, and I, through my business contacts, had lunch with a contact of the developer who from the developer who built the building, and the comment about the miscommunication through the state, and I mean, just had a frank conversation, what happened? And it came back that it was a state miscommunication, and I hope we could rebuild this, but there aren't any similar facilities within the state of Minnesota. I mean, there's some that provide some of them, but I mean, I would just hope we could find somebody to take the facility and fill a need. It's just really, really sad.
Yeah, sounds like that's their, because when we had the initial conversation with them, that would be their desire.
Right.
They've got a duty to basically sell the property.
Right.
But they understand their best bet is to find the same type of use, so.
Right.
Sounds like we've had a couple conversations, and it sounds like there might be some interest going on, but those are all rumors, until we hear something, so.
That would be great. And I'll let you know anything I hear from my side as well. Okay. So if nothing else, we'll move on to item number 5, business activity report.
So here's a brief summary on some of the projects that we're continuing to work on in the Community Development Department. So the Pana Gold Country Hearth building, which is located at 18542 Ulysses Street Northeast. That building permit has been issued for the 22,300 square foot building, and they're out there. If you go out there, they're starting to do some work out there. And then Aggressive Hydraulics at 18800 Ulysses Street Northeast. The building permit's been issued also for that property, which is a 36,000 square foot addition to the building. And Quick Trip, which will be located at 187th and Sand Hill Parkway. On August 9th of this year, the City Council approved the site plan. So at this time, their timeline for construction is about spring of 2023. And that's out a little bit just because of the site needs time to settle. The dirt needs time to settle before they start building on it. Elevage First Edition, again, that's where Quick Trip is going right now. So if you go out there and you drive, you'll see the roads going in. The completed demo work of the One Man's Treasure. And the developer is also preparing to submit for the second edition this early fall. And we're believing the second edition is going to be the residential component of it. We'll see. We haven't seen exactly what it is quite yet. Village Apartments Phase 2, so the second building, you go by, you'll see that. The second and third floors are being framed and installations being put in right now. And they're hoping for a completion date, I believe, by the end of this year. Building permits this year, we've issued 32 single-family homes this year through July 31st. And for the year 2020, the city issued 40 single-family home building permits, which was the most that we had issued since 2005. So if you have any questions of me, I can try to answer them for you.
I've just been watching the new home prices. It's been amazing. And it's interesting to see the value of the permits this year versus any of the subsequent years. It might be interesting to see that. I mean, Brian, you can attest to that. I mean, costs are up, land prices are up, so it's an interesting time.
Interesting is one word for it, yes. Yeah, construction is an industry that you have to roll with the punches, and this isn't exactly a punch, but it's been interesting.
Mhm.
So, hopefully, a rumor has it, lumber is supposed to start coming down here maybe fall into the spring, so hopefully, some pricing can come back down. But, yeah, it's just been a crazy year.
Well, it's good for the city, new
Oh, definitely is.
single-family homes and new residents and build the population, and hopefully as the Elevage development continues, we can see continued success.
Yep.
Quick question on the second edition. So if Elevage is thinking single-family residential, are they assuming, so our first, the village apartments, the first phase went very well, and assuming the second phase, have they done any market studies or just kind of curious what absorption?
The Elevage. We did have a conversation with the developer, and he had said that what they're proposing in there is something that the market needs, so.
Seems
I'm not
really-
sure, yeah, I'm
yeah.
not sure if they've actually done a study on it, but he does say that our market does need it, so.
Great, well, that's great.
Are we expecting a change from the concept plan they presented last time?
No, at this point, it's supposed to be the same.
Okay.
All right, any other questions on the developments or comments or anything? Otherwise, we have no action required, so we can move on to item number 6, the EDA member terms.
Yeah, so President Lux has served on the East Bethel EDA since August 17th of 2011, and her current appointment expires on January 31st of 2022. Julie Lux has submitted a statement of interest to continue to serve on the EDA for an additional term. A sitting commission authority member can request reappointment from the board on which they serve, and that board will vote on the petition and forward their recommendation to the city council for action. So at this time, the EDA is requested to consider the reappointment of Julie Lux for a term of 6 years to commence on February 1st, 2022, and to expire on January 31st of 2028.
So quick questions, should I recuse myself and somebody else takes the motion, or what's the proper procedure?
I believe that you
I
would
think
have to.
you're still
recuse-
president.
Yeah.
so-
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay.
don't, you can abstain from voting.
I will,
You can vote against it too if you want.
I
Doesn't mean that it'll carry though.
All right, well, all right, so we'll take a motion to consider the reappointment of Julie Lux for a term of 6 years to commence on Feb. 1, 2022 and expire on Jan. 31, 2028.
I see written proof that she's willing to do it, so I would be very proud to nominate her.
Thank you. All in favor?
Oh, you need a second.
Or, excuse me, okay. So that's a nomination
I
and a
made the
second.
nomination.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Just,
All in favor?
we're going with the flow here.
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. I love doing this, so I'm glad you'll have me back.
Well, thank you for keep having an interest in this until
Thank you.
2028.
Oh, if I would have read that number. We'll see. All right, item number 7, the broadband internet service replan. We're going to review the proposals and just hear about the details.
Thank you, Julie. City Council approved the advertisement for proposals for a broadband internet service plan at the May 24th, 2021 council meeting. This action is the culmination of discussions regarding the need for a plan for internet service at the March 15th, April 19th, May 17th, 2021 EDA meetings, and the May 3rd, 2021 council work meeting. The end product of engaging a professional firm for development of an internet service plan would be the identification of areas that could be potentially served, existing areas that require service upgrades, funding sources, city cost participation, and coordination of providers to partner their efforts and resources to implement the plan. Preparation of the plan would be an EDA eligible expense should a contract be awarded. The city request for proposals for the plan is exhibited in attachment 1 to this report. It was sent to 20 consultants as well as posted on the League of Minnesota Cities and the East Bethel website. The deadline for submittals was 3 p.m. on Thursday, July 15th, 2021. The city received 3 responses to the request. The 3 respondents met the qualification of the RFP, and 2 of the 3 have done work locally or in other Minnesota locations. The firm that did not list a Minnesota client does have an office in St. Paul and has done extensive work in Iowa. Initial fixed fees for the proposals range from $58,345 to $77,305. Generally, costs for this service are provided as a proposed amount, but final costs are usually negotiated and dependent on the types of services selected by the city. 2021 EDA funds are available and appropriate for a broadband internet plan for the city of East Bethel. City Council approved the invitation of all 3 respondents to be interviewed. Council also discussed the use of a committee to perform the interviews and evaluations. That committee could consist of at least 2 council members, 2 EDA members, and 3 to 4 others that are familiar with broadband internet systems and internet delivery infrastructure. Based on staff's previous experience with those who have technical and/or knowledge of other aspects of the expansion of existing systems, are 2 candidates that are recommended to compose the interview panel. One is Jana King, Economic Development Services of Roseville, Minnesota. Ms. King has a background in internet expansion and is part of a selection committee for Isani County's broadband plan. As Ms. King is a consultant, there will be a charge for her time, and attached is a sample agreement should we wish to engage her services. Samantha Markman, Anoka County Regional Economic Development. Samantha has a broad background in this field and is their contact for internet matters at the county level. Samantha is also working to find a county or ZAO staff member with specialized knowledge regarding the more technical aspects of system extension and could accompany her as an advisor to our panel. Staff is also in the process of reaching out to 2 others who have experience relating to the technology side of system expansion. A proposal for the interviews would be to devote the entire September 20th, 2021 EDA meeting date time to this matter. Should 2 council members who are also EDA members and 2 EDA members be on the panel, the EDA meeting would remain as scheduled. The DS seating would need to be arranged to accommodate the interview panel. Should the city select 2 different council members other than those that currently serve on the EDA, the regular EDA meeting could be canceled and the September 20th, 21 date would be an interview committee meeting only. We would anticipate that up to 45 minutes would be allocated for each presenter to allow time for the presentation and questions from the panel. The meeting would be proposed to begin at 6 p.m. The day and week of September 20th, 21 are recommended for the interviews, as those are the times that align with the schedules of those that may be involved in the meeting. Other options for the meeting could be discussed should alternate dates, panel members, or formats require additional consideration. At this time, staff is seeking EDA input as to the composition of an interview panel for the broadband internet plan and formats and dates and times for the meeting.
So we'll open it up for discussion, excuse me. So just to recap, you're proposing 2 members, so we're looking at a 6-member panel?
It would be 6 or 7.
Okay.
We would like to get one other person involved here who has good technical knowledge of this expansion of the system is, these people will probably be somewhat our interpreters, so.
Mhm.
There are lots of things in here in this field that, you know, are definitely way over my head in terms
Right.
of understanding all the technical aspects of it, and I think they would be a valuable addition in giving us some advice in terms of these people who interview, and they can be there to answer questions that we may not be familiar with, or part of the presentations we're not familiar with all the
Agreed.
aspects of.
Right. So to recap, you're thinking 2 members of the EDA, 2 members of the council, and then 2, perhaps 3 outside members, which may consist of Jana King or Samantha Markman.
Markman, and hopefully we would have one other person who has working technical knowledge. Samantha may be able to provide those for us because she's talking at the county level to their IT people and somebody from Zayo that may be able to come here.
Right. And I recall from her previous position in Northfield, I believe, they went through a broadband expansion and did
That
some
is correct.
interviews. So do you have any recommendations on who that third person might be?
No, I'm gonna wait back to see what Samantha can come up with.
Okay.
We do have another person that we're in contact with that may be interested in doing this. I've had one discussion with him. He said he'd have to check his availability to see if he could be here.
Okay. So just opening it up for discussion from a council level, have you, I don't know what our cross discussions have been.
Well, basically what Jack outlaid is what council discussed was, rather than EDA do interviews, or rather than council do interviews, is that form as committee, because literally none of the council members, I'm just gonna say for myself, have a clue what this all means. So
Right.
we wanted to get different perspectives.
Sure.
And so getting 2 members out of EDA, and then, as Jack laid out, you know, bringing in some more technical expertise, so.
Totally
So,
agree.
Be
So,
looking, and I think when you said 2 from EDA, we don't mean Brian or I mean it's
okay,
the other at-large
Sure.
members.
right.
We may be on there from a council perspective, we haven't had the discussion on council
No.
yet, so.
I assume we will be.
It's probably on next agenda, isn't it?
It will be on Monday's agenda.
Monday's agenda, so by
Okay.
Monday, we should know what's going on.
So it would be interesting to hear from the remaining EDA members. I don't particularly have a lot of experience in broadband, but with our absent members, maybe we want to take an opportunity to reach out to the remaining EDA members, unless Brian or,
I would be interested.
okay, yeah,
I mean, I was very involved with the BR&E broadband.
yes, absolutely, okay.
But like many of us, I don't have a lot of technical knowledge on that.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly done a lot of interviewing in my life on,
Okay.
different organizations and have a background in it. Yeah, I would be interested
Okay.
in working on it.
Catherine, any thoughts or?
I have an interest too in it, just from the perspective that I have neighbors who have high-speed internet and I can see their homes and and those of us that don't, we've reached out and gotten massive bids and.
I'm in that camp,
you know,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
And it's frustrating and we've been working at our homes at times and going, you know.
Right,
So,
yes.
I have an interest, and I have someone close to me I can consult for the technical information. I've worked in HR and I've connected a lot with technical departments, but certainly wouldn't have the inside information, just like Brian, there are things you know, there are things you don't know, or.
And I would think that the other people that we're bringing in on our committee, like Samantha and Jana and this other individual, can help us. I mean, it's good to have the basis from EDA and council and,
Well, and even just looking at our city, like, I was speaking with Jack about this, and, like, I'm on the southern end, so
Mhm.
we're so close to people who have this.
right,
And then it's frustrating to not have it, but certainly there are gonna be pieces of our city that, people have larger lots or farm lots and things like this, and it may not be reachable right away for them, but, so it may be interesting to see, what these proposals are and what ideas these people have about being able to reach people in our city.
Absolutely. Well, I think we have an interest in moving this ahead sooner than later, correct? So given that we're here and we're not meeting for another month, and I'm sorry, I didn't print all the pages, but are we looking for a motion, or could I make a motion to indicate two members, or what's the thought?
I think we just need the two names.
Yeah, if you just,
Okay,
that would be sufficient. This really isn't necessarily an action item, it's just a recommendation that you'd like to give to council
okay,
as to who might comprise the representatives from the EDA, and, if Steve and Brian are appointed, it kind of blends in nicely with the meeting for next month anyway. Not that you wouldn't be invited, but, it would be a regular EDA meeting, but we would have a quorum, we'd have 2 council members present, 2 EDA members present, and then the independents on the panel, so,
We're gonna have a separate meeting for the interview though,
correct.
right?
Yeah,
'Cause that won't be a
No.
regular meeting, it's
No.
open to public, but.
That's correct.
okay, so guidance on what the next step should be.
I would ask that, we're looking for a recommendation from
Okay.
EDA to city council as to EDA members who would represent the EDA on the panel. And if you endorse this type of format for the panel, 2 council members, 2 EDA members, 2 to 3 independent people
Okay,
who would provide technical background for us, and if the meeting dates are acceptable.
all right, so I'll make a motion to propose Brian Bezanson and Catherine Landcrane from the EDA, and so the council members will be determined at a,
We'll decide that.
at a
in
separate
council.
meeting, and then I would propose the 2 out of the 3 potential others be Jana King, Samantha Markman, and then 1 other to be determined as names are brought forward.
I'll second the motion.
All right. All opposed? Or, excuse me, wrong. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries. That's our recommendation.
And I have one other thing too.
Sure.
I gave everybody handouts of the
Right.
hard copies of the printed proposals. I don't know that I'm the one that can answer questions on them now, but if anybody has any questions, if you haven't taken a look at them, if we don't have the answers, we can certainly find them for you.
I admittedly have not had a chance to review everything. I'm curious if you have a summary of services versus pricing versus experience versus,
Well, I do, but I don't have it before me.
okay,
It's essentially contained in here, but that would be one thing we would do when we actually get into the interviews. We kind of try to outline everything too on 1 or 2 sheets, so it's a lot easier to compare. Sometimes it's hard to go through these books and compare one against the other, but they all seem to be qualified. They've met all the requirements of the RFP. Some of the proposals seem to be a little better organized than others, but I have spoken to 2 of the firms on a couple different occasions, and they both come across as very professional. Again, 2 of them have actually done work in Minnesota, the Finley Group and Design 9. And the other one has no Minnesota clients, but they've done a lot of work in Iowa, and they do have an office in St. Paul. So all of them have somewhat of a local connection. The Design 9 group actually did Isani County's plan, which was a pretty big thing. It was very expensive, and I think Isani County is trying to implement that now. And the Finley Group has done several in Minnesota. They're basically county plans. But again, we had a discussion at council. We submitted this to 20 consultants on the list that we had, and then we sent it to a couple of local engineers we knew had some express interest in it. We got 3 proposals. Our discussion initially was, do we accept these, or do we go out and re-advertise this? And our feeling at the time was, if we re-advertise, we probably wouldn't get any more. So,
so is the thought that once we get the committee together with the EDA and the outside consultants and the council, that everyone would thoroughly review them and make a decision, or what's the next action?
Well, I think that's what the, you know, the committee will be tasked with, you know, and
Okay.
so, I mean, it'll, I think from the 20th, that's the week before council, I think
Yeah.
that evening, and how we've done these in the past is we do all 3 interviews, and then we convene and compare notes, and hopefully that evening come up with a recommendation to council, and then that can go on council agenda for the following week then, so.
Sounds good. Any other questions from the commission? Comments, questions, or are we all in agreement with the way things are moving forward? All right. So with that, we can move on to the city council report.
So council officially adopted Sand Hill Parkway as the new name for the frontage road on the east side of 65. And then council also went ahead and renamed 2 other roads. The short section of south of Briarwood, and then the section in front of the ice arena. And the whole idea is, I think we talked about this, is eventually the whole frontage road on the east side will be Sand Hill Parkway, so. So, more and more I hear that name, it kind of fits us, so.
Yeah.
And there'll be an article in the newsletter coming out explaining the next segment of existing street that we have that's part of this service road alignment. To get it ready, this is Davenport Street between 215th Avenue and 209th. I think there's 10 businesses and 7 residents on that road. We want to give them kind of a heads up and start explaining this process. That street is scheduled to be reconstructed in 2024, and at the time that was done, that's probably might be the best time to do the name change on that.
Sounds good.
So then all that would be left are those components that are yet to be built, and as they were constructed, they would carry the same name. So eventually this would go to 181st to 221st and beyond if it goes north of there.
Well, exciting to see the changes and expansion, so. And I think the Sandhill name really reflects our community, and it combines the history and the nature aspect of our area, so I like it.
I like the idea, bringing the same name all the way up.
Right.
Well,
I mean, that was.
Agreed. I mean, it's easy for fire, it's easy for,
Yeah,
yeah.
Well, I think also, I mean, hopefully, in the long term, the name will become a little synonymous with East Bethel. When someone says Sand Hill Park, they know where they're talking about,
Right,
right? So
exactly.
It's only in East Bethel, it's nowhere
Exactly.
else, so. Maybe that's down the road, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Council also, we actually just had a special council meeting just before this, and it was for the purpose of accepting the resignation of Councilmember Shelley Beck. She resigned from City Council, and so we're going to be starting an application process starting tomorrow morning. There's the city will be taking applications for that council position, and that'll close at end of business on Friday, and then council will decide next council meeting how to proceed, so.
So outside of an election, so given that process, sorry, just my naivety.
Sure.
So the city takes nominations and then the council approves, or how does that
Well,
work?
there is discussion about whether we had to have a special election.
Okay.
And basically, because the city doesn't have an ordinance for special elections,
Mm-hmm.
the special election will happen, but it'll happen at the date of the regular election in 2022. So there'll be 2 council members, Suzanne Urkels and Tim Harrington's seat are up for re-election in 2022.
Okay,
And then there'll be, and those are 4-year terms like we normally do. And then the rest of Shelley Beck's term, that last 2 years will be a special election on that same date for another seat. And then what council's gonna do is we're gonna take applications, and then council will decide on who we appoint. So it's up to council to appoint, and that's for the rest of the term up until 2022. So it's the next year and a half, basically, so.
So do we have enough time? I know the newsletter is coming out. I mean, how is that being communicated to the community?
The newsletter probably won't be out until mid-October. The deadline for the articles in it was extended today, so
Right.
it'll be assembled and go to the printers here
Okay,
by the end of the month. Usually takes about 4 weeks to get it out. So we'll use our basic social media sites, webpage, reader board, our standard means of communication. I think the word will spread fairly fast.
right, right.
One of these things that's of high interest to a lot of people.
Okay, interesting. All right, thanks. Anything else from city council?
Oh, there's a few other things, but pertaining to EDA, that was it, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Fall town hall meeting was scheduled, November 3rd. So,
The 3rd?
November
Okay,
3rd.
yeah, okay.
Okay,
It's early.
November 3rd.
It's early this time. A little bit earlier.
mm-hmm.
It's before deer hunting season, right?
Is it?
I don't know. If they really want to be here, they'll forget about deer hunting, right? So.
I stopped hunting deer many years ago after shooting way too many and eating them.
All right. Well, we are to the end of the agenda. I will take a motion to adjourn, unless there's any other comments or questions or topics.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I'll
Do I hear a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. We are adjourned.
All right.